Welcome to your class. This is part 7 of our 8-part series, Energy. So we're going to start reclining. Just check in here for a moment in a constructive rest pose. You can have your hands wherever they're most comfortable. You could place your palms, one on your heart, one on your belly. You can have your hands on your hips. You can have your arms out on the floor, relaxing beside you. And just take a moment here to, if you need to wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, move around a little bit, get comfy. And finding that sweet spot where you can just take a few moments to gather your breath, check in. If you have hand on heart, hand on belly, you can just feel your breath moving between these 2 points, moving both of these parts of your body, belly up to the chest. Just your easy, natural breath here. Of course, it's really hard not to try to control it at this point, and you're allowed to do that. So adjust your breath as you need so that it's a calming breath, a focusing breath, and an energizing breath. And then you feel where your breath moves beyond those 2 points, hands and the hands on your heart and your belly. The breath just moves from a deeper place energetically, and it moves up energetically beyond the respiratory anatomy. So with your hand on your belly, you can feel the effects of your breath even deeper below the diaphragm. And with your hand on your heart, you can feel the effects of your breath beyond that, above the tips of the lungs. Checking in here with your emotional and mental state energetically. How are those? Judgment, no labeling, so we don't have to judge or label them, just notice. Within the next few moments, we'll start moving. So if you need a little longer here, please take your time. But as you start to wiggle your fingers and toes, we will come into a hands to knees, hug your knees in, and then hands to feet, happy baby. Ananda Balasana. You can roll your head around, massage the back of your head. So it doesn't have to be any shape other than just hands to feet, knees bent. And then I like to roll around here a little bit. This really feels good to me, just to kind of roll around. Rocking side to side. Maybe you can straighten one leg out as you do that and keep the other knee bent. And then check in the middle for just a moment if you are moving. Maybe then try that again, or add in a reclining bound angle with your hands connected to your feet, creating a little resistance between your hands and feet. Shoulders pulled back down into the floor. After a brief moment there, move back into Happy Baby, Ananda Balasana. Release your arms and just stretch your legs out to the side for a moment before you pull your feet up together, straight up to the ceiling with your feet. Viparita Karani, legs in the air for just a moment. Right. And then hug your knees into your chest, Apanasana. Nice little squeeze. And then release one leg out and remain with one leg squeezed in. Curl up, nose to knee, and then lower down. Switch sides, release the other leg out, and then pull your opposite knee in. Squeeze up, nose to knee, and then lower back down. And then both knees back into your chest. Nice little squeeze. Stretch your arms out above head, and then rock up to seated. And come all the way over into hands and knees position, tabletop pose. In tabletop pose, take any movements that make sense to your body. If you need a little cat-cow, a little twisting, a little rolling of the shoulders and the hips. I like to sometimes just stay in neutral and just be in tabletop. You don't always have to take extra movement. Make sure it feels good to your body. So this class is all about energy, and we don't want to tax our energy. We don't want to take too much of our energy or use too much. It's all about appropriation and how much you should be using and in the appropriate situation. So notice here if you are using way too much or if you're not using enough. Cat-cow. Match your breath and your movement. Inhale as you open your chest. Exhale as you round your spine and tuck your chin. All right. So we're going to sit back, hips to heels, just for a moment. Nice little toe tuck, child's pose. And then step your right foot forward and twist open here. It's a low lunge twist. Options to use the block if you need to put a block under your left hand or a block under your left knee or pad up your left knee. I like to take the block off to the side of the mat, way off to the edge, and then open behind. This is a little bit more of a heart opener for me. So again, consider if you're expending too much energy, if you go out to the side here and that's too taxing on your system, it's not necessary. So conserving some of that energy. Right, and then step back into tabletop pose. If you need a little wiggle waggle side to side or a quick cat cow in between sides. And then again, before we move on to the second side, you can take a little stretch back into that child's pose once you get all of that worked out in the spine. So cat cow as long as you need. And then you'll tuck your toes or keep your feet flat and then just kind of stretch back for a moment into a child's pose-ish, kind of like a half child's pose. And then you're going to step your left foot forward into the low lunge. Set up for the twist here. Left hand just gently pushes your left thigh away to open your shoulders up to the ceiling in a twisting opening. Again, your right hand can come off past the edge of your mat. You could use a block under your right hand. Breathe right up into that front belly, right from your belly up into that front upper chest. And then you can feel that push into your upper back. So you're breathing around the entire chest area three-dimensionally. Right, and then we'll step this back into tabletop. And again, a few little movements if you need, cat-cow. I'm going to go right into downward facing dog and work out some stuff there. So if you need to bend the knees or roll around your spine or move your hips side to side, and catch your breath. Throughout the whole class, checking in with your breath to make sure that it's not being pushed too far. Right, so the right leg's going to open up here in a three-leg dog. Stretch it out. You can bend your knees, one or both. I like to bend both at the same time. And then we're going to step that right foot through nice and slow. And again, come back into this lunging position. A little lizard lunge here. So hands are inside your right thigh, inside your right foot. I like to lift and lower out of the lizard lunge. If you need to step your right foot off to the edge of your mat or even off the edge of your mat, do that. Or if you need a couple blocks under your hands, but your hands are inside your right thigh, inside your right knee. And you can lower your left knee and lift your left knee. Again, I like to kind of lift the hips up and push the right leg out straight a little bit. So dynamic movement is the best way to get into this. It also keeps that breath moving in a pattern with the movement, keeps them synced up. Sometimes when you hold a posture, you don't notice it and you hold the breath. If you are resting in this pose in a static position, still breathing, of course, elbows, you can have them on the floor or on a block. Right. And then before you come out of it, just move your stuff out of the way. Let your left knee come down and step right back into tabletop position. And again, I like that little tuck toe child's pose transition into downward facing dog. Take a moment here to work it out. If you'd like to just close your eyelids down and pause here, do that. Right, and then slowly lower your knees to the floor. And again, stretch back into that kind of a half child's pose. Press forward right into cobra. Inhale, open your chest. And exhale, up and back. Press up, downward facing dog. So we're going to lift the left leg here. You can sweep it up. You can bend both knees. You can open the hip. Just going to move it around. Do anything that feels good. So organically moving that energy around, moving any tension around, trying to dissipate that tension, trying to make it dissolve, and just kind of open more space. Left leg's going to come through, and again, out and around your left hand. Or you could step your left foot up and then move your hands inside your left foot and then scoot your left foot off to the edge. Several ways you could do that. So situate yourself here slowly, not ever rushing into any deep stretch, especially lizard pose. It can be deep in the hips. Adjust with blocks as you need. Those dynamic movements, maybe lifting the hips, getting out of the lunge, and then inhaling back into the lunge, opening your chest. You can situate your elbows on the floor or on the blocks. You could also lower your back knee down on a block or the floor. Open your chest through your shoulders, stretching out the front of your body. And then again, before we move out of this, you can lower that right knee down, move your props out of the way. Place your palms back on the floor and step back into tabletop. And tuck toes, take that child's pose-ish, half child's pose shape. And then press your knees up, downward facing dog. Open your chest here. And keep your chest open as you drop your knees down into cobra, right into it. So almost like you're springing forward. Open your chest and roll back over your knees. Come into tabletop pose here, tabletop position. Inhale your right arm up to the ceiling, and then just dynamically hovering your right shoulder, bend your left elbow to thread your right arm through. Inhale, unthread and reach back up. Exhale, bend your left elbow and reach under and hover your right shoulder. Inhale, unthread up. Exhale, thread through. And then this time set your shoulder down. Open up to the ceiling with your left ribs. You can use your left hand above head or on your hip if you like to bind. I like to take my left leg out to the side here up to my right hand, so do that cautiously. Probably should have taken that right hand back to the floor, or left hand to the floor first for balance. But do the things here that feel good to your body. So if taking your left leg out to your right hand doesn't feel good, skip it. And then breathe right into the right side, open up to the left side. So the right side could be crunched. Try to breathe into it to keep it open. Left hand back to the floor for balance before you come out of it. Step your left knee back if you head it forward. And just a few rounds here to open up the, remove the twist rather, to remove the twist. So inhale and exhale, cat-cow. Okay, left side, you're going to come up with your left hand, reach up, and then as you bend your right elbow, thread your left arm through and hover your left shoulder over the floor. Inhale, push the floor away with your right arm and stretch your left arm back up. Exhale, bend your right elbow, thread through and under with your left arm hovering. Inhale, left arm up, push your right arm straight. And then this time you're going to hover through and gently set the left shoulder down. So here you can use your right hand again above head. Stick the right foot out if you're going to do that. And then your right hand can come around and bind. Your left hand and right foot do not have to make contact. So if you want your right foot out to the side, they don't need to touch. Just push your right foot flat on the floor. Just a few different options here. You can have the right arm overhead too to open up the right side. Again, breathe from your left up to your right so that you can keep both sides of your body long and open. Use your right hand back on the floor to come up out of this for balance. Take your right knee back over next to your left, right into tabletop pose. And then press back with your hips towards your heels. Again, it's that half-ish child's pose. Press up, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana with a nice smooth exhale. that breath is just in and out. So it's nice in and out, right? So nice even breath. Inhale into plank pose. Exhale, bend your elbows, chaturanga. You can take knees down first if you'd like. Inhale, upward facing dog, cobra. Exhale, hover your knees over the floor in a front of the foot supported table. So the knees are about an inch or two off the floor. And then flip over the toes and come back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Lift your right leg. Inhale, split your dog. Look forward to see where you're going to step that right foot and pull your right knee through up to the top of your mat. Get the right foot flat, knee over the heel. Lower your left knee down and inhale, sweep up, Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Press back with your left toes. Lift your heart up to the ceiling. And take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, and slide your thumbs down towards the back of your left knee or towards your calf. Open your chest. Keep your fingers interlaced. Shift forward with your torso so you can tuck your back toes, maybe a hop forward, and then straighten both legs as you forward fold over your legs, pyramid with Yoga Mudrasana in your hands. Keep pressing back through your left heel. Squeeze your right thigh and pull your right kneecap up. Good. And then inhale, just a half lift to release your hands. Squiggle that left foot back so it's longer back behind you and lift your left heel for high lunge, Ashtha Chandrasana. So we're going to flow with this. It's not super long holds, just a nice little 1 breath, 2 breath cycle. And then turn back down on your left heel and open your arms, warrior 2. Right knee is straight forward. Just look out over your right fingertips. I'm just feeling strong and energized here. We're going to squat over to the left foot for Skandasana, half lunge. You can bow down, you can bind, you can twist. I mean, anything goes here. Just ease into this. Right toes up to the ceiling. Squeeze your right thigh so your right kneecap doesn't drop. And then move back to the front of your mat with your hands. Situate your knee in the middle of your mat for pigeon so that your right heel comes over in front of your left hip. You could use a block here if you need to pad up your right hip, if you feel like you're leaning over to the right too much. You can also use a blanket instead if a block seems too big. If you prefer to use those 2 blocks on either side of your hips for your hands, but take a little bit of a back bend here. The more you walk your hands back towards your hips, the bigger the back bend is going to be. So if you need to take this out of your back, walk your hands forward and you can still take your chest up to the ceiling. All right, hands on the floor, step back. You can open that right hip up and stretch out your right legs, move around the ankle, the foot. And we're going to move into a chaturanga vinyasa. So if you want to come into knee chest, or if you want to take a 1-leg chaturanga, or if you want to take a chin stand. Inhale into upward facing dog, and then exhale downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Breath is smooth and full of energy, so you can notice your inhale is very energizing. Your exhale is very calming so that it's a balanced energy. You don't want to be crazy here. Left leg lifts, inhale. And then squeeze that left knee through. Look up to see where you're going to go. Step forward with your left foot. And then slowly lower your right knee down to the floor. Left knee over your left ankle. Left foot is flat. So make sure your left heel is pushing down. Inhale, lift your arms, lift your chest. You can drop your hips, but make sure you're dropping them evenly. And again, take your hands behind your back and interlace your fingers. Open your chest. You can slide your thumbs down towards the back of your knee in the direction of your calf muscles. And then on your next exhale, kind of shift forward, tuck those back toes, turn your back heel down, and straighten out your left leg so you can forward fold over your pyramid shape here. So if you needed to hop your right foot forward, Do so slowly so you don't knock yourself over. Lift up that left thigh, lift up that left hip. All right, so we're going to go into high lunge. I accidentally went into warrior two, and then I realized I forgot something. So high lunge, not warrior two. I catch on here in a second. Oop. Nope. All right, so lift your right heel, Ashtha Chandrasan. Open your chest. Find your balance here. And then turn your right heel down. And then open your arms. Nice big stretch, but also how simple and easy of a stretch can it be? This posture is strong and challenging, but how easy and comfortable can we make it? So really balancing the energy. Okay, this time squatting over to the right side. So if you don't have the ankle mobility, stay on the ball of your foot. You can lower your right heel down if it's okay. Again, I'm dealing with a stupid sprain in my ankle, so I have to really ease myself into this one. You can use your hand behind for support or in front for support. Again, you don't have to have your right heel on the ground. You could have that heel lifted. And then we're going to walk back to the front of the mat, nice and slow. Pigeon pose, Ekapada, Rajakapotasana. So the left knee is in the middle of your mat, and then your right hip is over behind your left heel. You can draw that left hip back. That will pull your left knee over slightly. And then your fingertips can come back and walk next to your hips. Again, if you want to use blocks here. Just about 3 breaths here and a big opening. Hands can come to the front of your mat for if you're experiencing that back pain because it's not worth it. Right, and then tuck your right toes under and then free your left leg up behind you. Open your hip a little bit, stretch out the ankle and knee and hip joint. And move through chaturanga as you like. Again, you can take that knee up to your chest or you can just step right back into straight up plank pose. Up dog. You could take a chin stand again if you did it on the first side. Do it on this side. Child's pose for just a brief moment here, just to check in and make sure that you're not taxing your energy system, right? So the nervous system, we want to maintain the balance. So yeah, energy, we could all use a nice dose of it, especially now, but not too much, right? We want to stay balanced. Okay. So we'll come back into Malasana, garland pose. Right out of that child's pose, you can just rock up through tabletop and then rock over your toes back into Malasana. Bow here. A couple different options if you need your heels up or if you need something underneath your heels, maybe a blanket or roll up the back of your mat. You can take your hands back and grab your heels. I like to take my hands back on the floor and just kind of let my shins rest on the backs of my arms. It acts as a counterbalance. But just stretch something to stretch out your low back, something to, just humbly bow here and check in. All right, crawl out of this. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. All right, so let's come to seated. So you can hop up and come down, or you can hop through to seated. Bound angle, Baddha Konasana. Take the soles of your feet together. If you want to sit on a blanket or a block, draw your heels in towards your sit bones. I myself really just like to stay upright here, but you're welcome to stretch forward with your chest. Try not to push your thighs down with your elbows. Try to pull your elbows back into your ribs and then pull your chest through your shoulders. There is going to be a rounding in your spine. All forward folds happen 2/3 in your hips and then 1/3 in your spine. So allow that spine to forward fold a little bit. Release your bound angle and roll onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. Right knee in, left leg out straight. And then left knee in, right leg out straight. You can hover the right leg or you can let it rest on the floor. So half wind relieving pose and then full wind relieving pose, Apanasana, knees to chest. Squeeze your nose up to your knees and stretch your arms forward, and then right leg goes out again. So this is a half boat with one knee in, one leg out. And then pull your right knee back in. Take your left leg out, half boat, Ardha Navasana, balancing on your low back. Good. Pull your left knee back in and see how it feels to take both legs out straight. Lift your head, look to your toes. Good. And then pull yourself all the way up to seated. Take your hands behind. Little upward tabletop. Press your hips up to the ceiling. Lift your chest. Open your heart a little bit. You can let your head come back slightly. And you're welcome to take this into upward facing plank pose. Take your time with that. All right, come back down to seated. Cross over your ankles and come back into tabletop position. And then lift your knees, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Split your dog, lift your left leg, open the hip. Turn over to the outside of your right foot and drop your left toes behind you. Pull your left heel up under your butt and then open up into a wild thing, pushing into your right hand and right foot. Look back down to the floor. That's where your gaze is going to go. That's where your hand's going to go. Pull your left knee into your chest and then step your foot forward. Lower your right knee down. Lunge here. And then take a block back behind you on the outside of your right foot and lift your left arm up and open your heart towards the side of the room a little bit more, so it's not so much up to the ceiling. It is, but it's more, it's not straight up to the ceiling. It's just a little bit more relaxed. Little half camel. Right? And then get your 2 blocks and step up onto your left leg and forward fold over your left leg, standing split. Okay, hands can come back to the floor if you don't want to use your blocks, and you can fold into that standing leg. Activate the top leg, stretch it out. You can open the hip a little bit. And then I love handstand, so I'm going to take a couple of handstand hops. You're welcome to skip the handstand hops. All right, and maybe just take a couple of handstand hops, 2 to 3. If you find a little air time, hold it, and then you can shoot back into chaturanga from your handstand. Bend your elbows, toes land. Upward facing dog, inhale. And downward facing dog or child's pose, exhale. So if you want some more time to play with that, pause the video and go back in and just have some fun with it. Don't spend too much time on it and use all of your energy there, though. And breathe right up into that back. Energize your body with your breath. Also calm it with your breath. So coming back to nice balance. Work out any kinks. When you're ready, downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your knees up and back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then you're going to lift your right leg this time. So you're going to come up into a split dog, right leg lifts. For wild thing here. All right, so then open that hip if you need a moment. You're going to take the right foot behind you, right toes pull up under your butt, and then you're on the outer left foot and your left hand. Open your heart up to the ceiling. Press your left hip up to the ceiling. Again, your gaze is going to go back over to where your hand's going to go, and then your hand follows. Squeeze your left knee through, step your left foot flat. Or sorry, right foot through, right foot flat. And now your left knee is on the floor. And then your left hand comes back to the block next to your left leg, and then open up a little bit to the side. Situate the block, make sure, so one side might be different. One side might need a higher block or a lower block, but you're just kind of opening your chest. You could even take your arm back and cup your head, just kind of let your head rest on your arm. You could look down to the floor or up to the ceiling. And if you want, you can move your block back a little farther. Just play with this, have some fun with it. It's a nice half open camel. Come back up to the top of your mat with your blocks if you're going to use them for your standing split. Situate your weight into your right foot. Lift your left leg up. Left leg is really strong. And you can start to forward fold into your right leg. Again, you can open up that left hip if it feels good. I'm going to play with my handstands on this side, so if you do it on one side, do it on the other side. Hop. Maybe it's a couple hops. I like to use my feet as brakes there. It kind of helps to keep myself from going over. Squeeze your thighs, legs are strong. Bend your elbows, land down chaturanga or step back plank to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and then exhale, child's pose. Make sure you're giving yourself enough time in between those handstands to rest in child's pose. If you are pausing the video and playing with that handstand a little longer, giving yourself adequate time to recover. All right, and then come up into table to press back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Come back up to seated. You can hop through or you can lower your knees and rock over your ankles. We're going to take this into a twist. Left leg's going to wrap around and under your right hip, and then your right foot comes to the outside of your left thigh, top of the thigh, the bottom of the thigh actually. Hook with your left elbow and your right hand rests on the floor behind you. Ardha Matsyendrasana, half floor to the fishes. Open your chest. Keep your right foot flat and your right toes pointing straight forward. And keep your left heel hugging your outer right hip, pointing your toes back so the top of your left foot is on the floor. Inhale as you release that twist. We'll take a brief forward fold in between sides, Paschimottanasana. Just stretch out over your legs and relax here for a moment. And then we'll set up the second side twist. So now your right leg's going to wrap around and under. So your right heel's on the outside of your left hip. Your left ankle hooks the very distal end of your femur down by the knee. Foot on the floor is flat, your left foot, and notice your right toes then are pointing back, top of the foot on the floor. Hug or hook with your right arm, left hand behind, open your chest. You can gaze back over your shoulder or just right out over your collarbones. Nice, calming yet energizing twist here. Breathe from belly up to chest, back of your heart. And then as you inhale, untwist. And again, straighten out your legs and forward fold, maybe a block under your forehead, or use a chair or a surface that you can forward fold out to. Inhale, lift up. And we'll take boat pose, Pariparnavasana. So you can keep your knees bent or you can straighten your legs. You can help with your hands on the back of your thighs. But take your chest through your shoulders and lift your heart up to the ceiling. Lengthen your low back out a little bit. And then come down to your feet and then come up to a squatting position. So we're going to move this into a chair squat in just a moment. And just balance on your toes here for a moment. Get those hips strong, or keep those hips strong. They were strong in boat pose. All right, back up to stand. So inhale, just stand up for a moment, and then we're going to sit back into chair. You don't want the front of your hips to cramp up. Utkatasana, fierce pose. I'm sitting back a little farther than I normally would in chair because we're going to twist. So you can take your right elbow to the outer left thigh. Prayer pose. Press your palms together. Left hand pushes down into your right. An alternative here is to take the forearm over the top of your thighs. So this will help you to not lean to the left so much. Okay, so whichever one feels better, whichever one feels more energizing, whichever one feels like it doesn't suck up all your energy. And then another alternative here, another option, modification, is to squat down onto your toes and take this into a deeper squat because we are going to move into Parshvabhakasana, side crane. If you are not moving into side crane, of course, you know you always have that option to skip it. Stay in that nice little squat. Otherwise, palms flat on the floor and the edges of your mat. Twist your hips up to the ceiling and float your feet. You can use a block under your feet. You could also bend your left elbow and shelve your left hip with your elbow. Right, and pull your toes back under you. Untwist back to the front facing. So if you need some more time to play with that, please pause the video and play with that. I will be posting a side crane tutorial soon, so you'll have that to go play with. Take a few little moments in between sides here. Wide leg forward, fold at the top of your mat, maybe swaying side to side. And then you can come up to stand, reach up nice and tall. And then we'll set up for Utkatasana, Parit Utkatasana, revolved chair on the second side. Get your feet together. Inhale, reach your arms, and then bend your knees. As you exhale, sit back into this fierce pose, a little bit farther of a sit back than normal, just to allow for the twist. And then you can twist to your right, hook your left elbow. Again, you could use the forearm over the top of your thighs if that feels better for you. And then you can add on squatting down to your toes. Add in the deeper squats. This is set up for Pashasana, noose pose, which is a pretty challenging posture. So here, squeeze your knees together, open your chest, hook that left elbow and twist. Stay here for a few moments, or if you're going to move on to the arm balance, your palms can come down to the floor next to your right foot on the edge of your mat. All 10 fingers point to the edge of your mat. Twist your left hip up to the ceiling and push with your right arm. Again, you can bend your right elbow and shelf your right hip first, and then try to think about twisting your hips up to the ceiling. Pull your toes back under you for your toe squat. Untwist back to the front facing position. Move around, twist out. If you need to just kind of stretch, maybe a forward fold here. And then you can come back to seated. So I'm going to give you a couple different options here. I'm going to start with a small bolster. So if you have a small pillow or a bolster at home or a blanket you can roll up, a little heart opening, a little supported heart opening here. Feet on the floor, knees bent, arms out, shoulders off the bolster. Also, you could use a couple blocks. This is another great option. This is one of my favorites. I'm going to put one block under my shoulder blades and one block under my head. And the block under my head is lower, but please set yours higher if that feels like it's too intense of a pull and too much of an opening. So also some leg variations in either of those upper back supports. You could have feet together, bound angle, knees open. You could have your legs out straight. You could also have your feet on the floor with the knees up to the ceiling. Breathe right into that block here. Just feel the support in the upper heart. Feel when you do breathe, you can kind of press your back into the block and your head is soft on the block or the floor, wherever it's being supported. Notice here then your energy just kind of swirling around. What is your breath telling you? What do you want to hear that you think that your breath is telling you? And then actually listen to what your breath is telling you. You know, I always love, I don't know, I feel like I'm a high energy person. And the days that I don't have that high energy, it's like, what the heck's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with me. It's normal, right? So just notice where your energy is today and let it be what it is and just be aware of it. That's it. And maybe instead of trying to change your energy, you can change the actions that you do to not overtax your system, right? We're going to move this into another little restorative posture. So come up off your blocks and take one block, maybe 2 blocks under your sacrum. If you're using 2 blocks, or any block, it's the fattest, the biggest, widest surface area of the block under your sacrum. Scooch back so your shoulders are on the floor and you can feel the blocks kind of scooching your glutes up towards the backs of your knees. Feet here, play with it. So feet apart, knees toward each other. Feet farther away from the block, closer into the block, knees together. Maybe the knees are not so pinching in together. Maybe the feet walk in a little closer and you just have knees over ankles. And then again here, notice if there's a shift in your energetic system, in your heart rate, in your breath rate. paying attention to how these different postures just specifically affect you personally, right? Being aware. It's the biggest thing you can do is practice awareness. It's the best thing you can do for your body, for your systems. Just practice awareness. And all that is just noticing. You don't have to like be some mindful, perfect little freaking person walking through the world like you don't have a care in the world. That's ridiculous. That's not true. You're just aware of your feelings. You just acknowledge them and be honest with them. It is what it is. All right, and after a few moments here, you can start to pull one knee into your chest. If you're comfortable keeping both blocks, leave them. If not, lower down to at least one. So your left leg is out in a nice little bridge shape. You can lift it up if that's too painful. But switch sides when you're ready. Right foot comes back down to the floor, and then stretch out your right leg, and then your left knee comes in. And again, you can lift up that right foot if it seems too pinchy in your low back or your neck. Sometimes pushing your foot out pulls on your neck. So make sure your neck is staying open and smooth. And then if you're okay with it, both legs out here, arms overhead, instead of long bridge pose. All right, take your feet back to the floor so you can lift your hips and release the block down. Go down one block if you're not already. And then take your feet up to the ceiling, Viparita Karani, legs up in the air. And we'll be here for a few moments so you can feel it in your toes. Sometimes they start to get a little cool and tingly. That's just the legs in the air working. If it becomes uncomfortable though, lower your feet back down to the floor. Sometimes it's nice just to wiggle your toes around and that'll pull the blood back up to your toes and then you can relax them again. And then here just noticing the energizing effect of this simple posture, how it's relaxing and energizing at the same time. This always blows my mind how this pose, I sleep on this pose. I don't give it enough credit. And this posture is really beneficial. It's so helpful. If you can do this pose 2-3 minutes a day, it's going to help you in so many ways, emotionally, physically, mentally. Focus on your breath here, breathing right up into the upper back. And then start to move your fingers and toes and lower your feet back down to the floor. Lift your hips, remove that block. Come down slowly. Just give yourself a moment to reacclimate to being flat on the floor here without any block support. Check in. This is a good time to really determine where you need to go next into your resting position. So if you need a twist, you're welcome to pull your knees into your chest and take a twist. If you just want to stay here and not even move, that's what you do. Just really act on your instincts right now. You can stretch your legs out and release your arms to the side for Shavasana. Take a few moments here just to rest before we move into a meditation. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes and come back into a seated position. You can stretch out your arms and legs first. Roll up to seated, an easy cross-leg position. We're just going to take 3 rounds of a little belly breath with a little sigh out of your mouth. So just take a round of natural breath here. Inhale and exhale. And then nice big inhale. You can open your mouth. And again, smooth inhale from your belly all the way up to your lungs. And open your mouth. If you want, you can stick your tongue out, little lion's pose, really get that crap off the back of your tongue. And then one more, nice big inhale. And exhale. Okay, so we're going to stay here, or you can lie back. We'll take a brief meditation. You can cup your palms in your lap, bow your chin slightly. Get yourself situated. Take your time, no rush. If you'd like to lie back, you can prop yourself up with some bolsters, blankets, or pillows. If you'd like to remain seated, you could even sit in a chair or against a wall. But just come to a nice, easy, comfortable position where you can just focus on a few energy healing thoughts here. So I'm going to list, I'm going to talk about 10 intentions. I'm going to name off 10 statements, intentions, hopes, desires. And you can listen to all of them, and you can maybe go back through this every day and then just find a different one to pay attention to. Maybe just find one that speaks to you. But just listen to them and let them come and let them go as they need to be in your energy system, in your heart, in your mind, and in your soul. And focus on your breath here with each of these intentions. So right here, just breath, that's all, just breath. Notice your inhale, notice your exhale. Easy, calm, energized inhale. Relaxing, soothing, peaceful exhale. With your next inhale, may I be clear and open to love and light. And inhale and exhale, let that go. May I remember my true nature always. Smooth breath in, easy breath out. Let your breath carry in these intentions. Let your exhale release any thoughts or negative doubts that might come up with these intentions. May I be free from negative energies. May I be compassionate and open to all possibilities. May I release resistance and let go of pain. May I learn through patience and love, and may I see good and love in all beings. May my mind, body, and soul be happy and free. May I be guided by my highest, truest self. May I be happy, healthy, and free of suffering. May all beings be happy and healthy and free of suffering. Feel any and all of these intentions that speak to you move in and out with your breath, trusting your breath and trusting your healing process. Stay as long as you'd like to sit. And as always, bow to you at the end of your practice with gratitude and love. Thanks, yogis.